And we're going to just kind of whisk through some of the reminders that I want to make sure we have in this session before we get to some storytelling. So a couple reminders. We had the 3 most important actions that you can take right now, but really always. That is to communicate, dispel myths in your communication, and to listen. And listen to learn, not listen to find the space to insert what it is we want people to do right now. What we do want to make sure that we are thinking about in our communication is, what do we want people to feel? What do we want them to do? And by when do we want them to do it? So if showing up at an event is important, letting them know what happens when we all gather and participate at this event, whether it's raising money or deciding on some new rules or guidelines or finishing the budget or whatever that is, that this will affect real people. Even the mundane admin stuff that we do affects real people. And then, of course, Lynn's quote about the privilege that we have to reallocate the world's resources away from fear and toward that which we love. If nothing else, I hope that just gives you a sense of calm, that we can talk about money and we can talk about it in a way that may be, of course, bold and clear, but it also can be inspiring. It can paint a picture for folks of where we are today and where we're headed. And there is so much fear and very dramatic emotion around us all day, every day. I have to say, I had one of those days where it felt like I was pushing the boulder up the mountain and it just kept rolling back on me. And I'm not sure I got anything accomplished, but maybe I did. So what I've agreed to do before I go to bed tonight is to jot down some things that I feel good about. What did my day make possible for another person? Because I got something accomplished, even if it's one tiny thing. So really continually asking the question of our community, what does your gift make possible? What does your contribution of time, talent, I call it stuff, or money, make possible? And here's what it takes. Here's what it truly takes to fully fund our mission. We want to make sure our messages are teaching a little bit something new, inspiring, but also they can have a subtle call to action because of that gap of where we are today and where we're headed, and that we're reallocating those resources in our community as we paint a picture of one person at a time. One young person, one older person, one longtime parishioner, one new face in the crowd. And we want to share what you've all identified here as those stories, mission moments. I believe when we can make our work about one person, that is when people start to not feel like there's a burden to taking action. They understand that there's much more that can be possible because I could do more. So put a face, make sure I know what it takes, and here's why. Our brains are wired to think in story. Every decision we make is based on the story we tell ourselves. And if we don't feel something, we can't make a decision. Does that make sense? If we don't feel something. So what shoes did you put on today? Did you bring an umbrella when you went somewhere over the past couple of days or not? Where do you live? What kind of car do you drive? What church do you belong to? Why do you choose those things? It's because it causes you to feel a certain way. There's a tension in our brains, and that brain tension is that emotional side versus the rational thinker side, right? Well, the elephant, and that is the emotional side of our brain. And notice how large the elephant is. We think of ourselves, the rational side, as the rider. We're in charge. The truth is, when the rider and the elephant disagree, guess who wins? Our emotions. We're overmatched by the things that we feel. So what we want to make sure is that love, compassion, empathy, loyalty, that those are the things we shine a spotlight on through the stories that we tell. And that way, both our head and our heart are engaged, and we can stop overanalyzing or thinking about whether, this is going to work or not. People will take action. Stories told well and shared well, whether it be written or spoken, they're 22 times more memorable than sharing a whole boatload of statistics. So even in your list, Greg, of, all of those things that are going really well or that we're doing, that how we're making an impact, intersperse every once in a while a face and a name with a couple of those. I like to say that in our storytelling, the conflict is the oxygen. And that conflict may be, a mom doesn't have diapers for her child, or trying to work from home with children learning from home, and the dog and the whatever else is going on. Those are the conflicts that we want to shine the spotlight on. But we also want to make sure that we talk about there's some different pieces as we share a story. They're very simple. The first are what I call the facts 101. How old is this person? How long have they been a part of the community? What do they look like? How tall are they? Do they have children or not? Where do they live? I like to paint a picture of you all. So it's why I was asking questions about, some of you, where do you live, or how long have you been a part of your community? The second thing is to, and this is easy to do, include measurable results. We fed them. We were able to bring them clothing, or they were able to participate in our church service because we helped them get their Zoom link working, or we had them on the telephone. These are things we can measure. It either happened or it didn't. Those are easier to share. Number 3, transformations is not a measurable activity. It's where we include how that person felt. And so this is where maybe someone feels safe or seen or loved or welcomed for the very first time by being a part of your community. And that's where we want to make sure we're including those, and we're thoughtfully choosing words that are descriptive, adjectives that help me connect with the person that we're learning about, because you could very well be talking about me. You want to use the framework, and I'll share the framework with you in a moment, but you want to share your same mission moment in lots of ways. You could share the same story about someone, just little different parts of it at different meetings for weeks or years, and come back over and over to that story. The framework is really simple. Let me tell you about. This person had a life of blank. Here's how they looked. Here's where they lived. Here's why and how they found their way to us. They didn't have a church, or they were feeling lonely, or they were walking by, or someone referred them, or they moved here specifically to be a part of our community. Here's how they felt before. Here's how they feel today. Here's what happened when they were a part of our finance committee or in that specific program. And because of you and your contributions, your love, our community, this person is now doing blank. And if that feels a little overwhelming to you, all of that structure, and I'll give you a link to the ebook that you can download that has this structure in it. I'll send that to Faith and she can share it with you all. Here's a very simple framework. What was their life like before? What's it like today? And what will it be going forward because of that relationship that they have with you, and maybe a new relationship with God? So when I lived in Phoenix, I think I might have shared with you, for about 5 years. And I learned about a woman named Sandra. She was 27 years old. She lived just south of the Department of Ophthalmology in Tucson in Sonora, Mexico. And she had been in need of some kind of eye surgery that I didn't really understand for her whole life, basically. She needed cornea transplant surgery. And when I asked our doctors and nurses what that meant, because I'm not a medical professional, they said, imagine this, Lori. If you're in the bathroom and you're looking at that mirror, it's covered with soap, not even steam. There's so much of a film on it. You can't see. You can't see to comb your hair. You learn where to brush your teeth, but you can't put on makeup, certainly. Sandra had that, and she couldn't drive. She told her family that she ached to leave the house alone. So at the Department of Ophthalmology, we have something called an International Fellows Program, brand new. $25,000 sponsors a visiting ophthalmologist from another country to learn one kind of surgery. Imagine this, it was cornea transplant surgery. So Dr. Rodriguez, her ophthalmologist, was our very first fellow. He studied, he learned, he decided once he graduated, he was so excited about this new training he had that he would give a free surgery back to the community, to one person every year. And Sandra was his first patient that received the surgery. And while she'll never meet you to be able to thank you, what I can tell you is on the day she had her surgery, she was so grateful because she got to see the faces of her 7- and 9-year-old little boys for the very first time. Now, there is a waiting list of over 300 fellows from around the world who would like to receive that training. And we say yes to as many as we can, as often as possible when we have the resources to do so. Sandra is now driving. Sandra works and volunteers at the Department of Ophthalmology and for Dr. Rodriguez. She tells her story regularly. But what she does do also is she tells her family some days, I'm going to leave now. I'll be back, but I'm going to leave by myself. And I cannot thank you all enough for making it possible for me to tell her story. So what did I do in sharing that true story about someone whose life is different? Because I will say this, when I got a job at the Department of Ophthalmology, let me tell you, I wasn't thinking it was a very sexy mission. There's not a lot of people who understand, well, or even know how to spell ophthalmology, let alone what do we do there. So I really had to hunt to find a story that inspired me. I never got to meet Sandra, but I got to meet Dr. Rodriguez, and I got permission through him to share her story. And I've been sharing it thousands of times since whatever year it was I learned of her. Right. The descriptions that you'll have of people that you work alongside, that you walk alongside, that you talk to on the telephone, that come through the doors when the doors finally get to open, or however you're celebrating on Sundays or throughout the week. It's those examples that are real and personal that will connect me to the story you're sharing. Anything else? Did you get there was a need? Yeah. And I didn't ask you for money. Now, what I didn't tell you about is we had 26 different research programs. We had 13 different areas of clinical care, pediatrics, all kinds. We had a vision van, we had an eyeglass collection program. I didn't tell you about any of that on purpose because I don't know which of those things might interest you. But what I told you, whether you ever give to that mission or not, is a story that inspires me. So my hope is that what you're understanding is your passion for the person you talk about and tell that story of is what will draw people to you and to want to know more. There's lots more I could talk about. I used to tell the story in about 5 minutes. Ugh, can you imagine how boring that was? Now I tell it in about anywhere from 45 to 60 seconds. on purpose. The goal is to have you want to know more. The goal is to have people ask you a question. And that's how we know we've sort of got them interested in some way. So let us do a few things here. One is just remember this. You can tell me a bunch of facts. Maybe I'll learn something. You can tell me some things that I'll believe in. But when we talk about a person and weave that story, it lives in our hearts forever. So think about who you're talking about. I would also encourage you to not ask people to tell you their story. You'll get the deer in the headlights look. Ask people to tell you, what does our church mean to you? When have you felt God's love here? When have you seen the love of Jesus Christ show up for someone else? And then illuminate and pull on the threads of that. Our job is to find the nuggets and then build the story using that framework. So I collected a few things, some examples of what others are doing. One is from my church, which is St. Joan of Arc here in Minneapolis. And let me see if I can make this full screen. I'm going to play just some of it for you. What I'll tell you is, that's really not a great place to stop. Poor Anna would be not happy. I was married in this church. My favorite song is Somewhere Over the Rainbow, and Anna and Fred played the music at my wedding. So not only is it fun for me to learn about our biggest fundraiser, that we're still having it, it'll just be virtual, but that they have the very people that make the music happen, telling the story, made a difference for me. So let me see if you can hear this.
Hello, St. Joan of Arc. I'm Anna Bogley.
I'm Fred Bogley.
And I'm the music director at St. John's, and Fred is on the music staff. We are married. We have come to invite you again to our beautiful and wonderful all-virtual cabaret this year on Saturday, October 3rd at 7 o'clock in the evening.
It's called the Imagination Cabaret. And this year there are no tickets to buy. All you have to do is go to stjoan.com. There'll be a button there. You press the button that says Cabaret, and you're going to be transferred immediately to the cabaret stage for the exciting night of music.
You can.
There's other things that they tell us, and then they show us some clips of the year before, a couple of years ago. But that's the happy one. So let me see if I can go back to, there's another one that I wanted to share with you. And that is, there's a lot of storytelling that goes on at my church. And you'll notice the awkward feeling of this young man. But they are a mom and a son sharing their story. And you'll notice that all the examples I'm sharing with you today, almost all of them, will be video, because we are hungry to see people and be with people. And so these are happening on folks' Facebook pages.
Hello, Joan of Arc family. My name is Charlotte Kinsley, and I've been a member of Joan of Arc for the past 11 years. My husband, Tony, and I have 3 kids, a son who just graduated from high school, a daughter who is in 8th grade, and my son, Peyton.
Hi, my name is Peyton Kinsley. I'm 16 years old and I've been going to St. Joan of Arc since I was 5. I go to St. Thomas Academy and I'm going to be a junior this year.
We live in South Minneapolis, not far from the site of George Floyd's murder and the ensuing uprising. And Julie asked me to answer honestly about how we are doing. And I will say that some days and weeks are better than others. All of us trying to manage our school and work lives, keep up with what's happening in the world and in our community, and make good decisions can be overwhelming at times, as I'm sure you can imagine. We worry about our loved ones and about how the choices that we are making could affect our loved ones. I've been inspired by the maturity that our teens have shown in all of this, but I really wish they didn't have to make such hard decisions.
One of the hardest things for me during COVID has been not being able to go to school in person. Online school is really hard for me because I'm a really social person, and I actually enjoyed going to school and seeing my friends. I really miss the community.
So you get that it doesn't have to be just joyful moments. There can be authentic storytelling opportunities for people to say what's happening for them and their family. This is from an organization called Interfaith Community Outreach Partners. And this is just the heading on their website. Ignite the power of community to build hopeful futures right here, right now. So let me take you there. Let's close this one. They make sure that we feel connected to them and to some of what they're doing right now. Let's go back. They've got a slider show that happens. And then I wanted to take you to their donate page, because we can make a financial gift, but that picture is there reminding us what we're doing. We're providing families who are struggling with something, with some sort of support and help. And then on their Facebook page, they just had a fundraiser in August, their annual event, but they explained to us what was raised, what that makes possible. So that's 1,496 days of quality daycare and early childhood education. Their event focused on caring for children. How often do we equate at our fundraising events, if we have them, or our appeal drive, or Sunday collection, what that makes possible in days or weeks or months? And then the last is an update from my friends at Forgotten Children Worldwide, a faith-based organization that does their work literally all over the world. And I won't play the whole message for you, but I wanted to share a little bit. This is from the executive director and founder of the organization.
Hello, Forgotten Children family. So good to see you again. Hey, I want to give you an opportunity to meet Jerona. This is her in the flesh, okay? How about this lovely lady, okay? She stands at 4 feet tall, and you received a letter just recently saying how you can win her. And maybe you haven't seen the letter, you didn't get a chance to read it yet, but let you know that you can win her. We're going to have a drawing on September 1st. All you got to do is email me your name. Just give me your name, that's it. Nothing else has to be in the email. Just email me at matt@forgottenchildren.org, or you could do info@forgottenchildren.org, and you will be in the drawing. I wanted you to meet her personally. She's looking forward to meeting one of you. Hey, I'm gonna give you just a quick update what we've been doing. You probably wonder, hey, what's going on over there at Forgotten Children these days? A lot of our time is really spent with COVID relief. And do you know who really takes it on the chin? You ever notice it's a little guy? It's a little guy. It's the vulnerable who are already vulnerable, oftentimes girls, and they're just even more vulnerable in the time of a crisis.
So why I share these with you is to have you feel the mission of each of these organizations and to be reminded that you too can do something. The video that was created for Forgotten Children, they don't have, their development staff is a full-time development person and a part-time development person, and she uses Bamba or something similar to that, but she uses still pictures and puts them through some sort of program. She is self-trained, a young woman who does it. She started as a volunteer, then they started to bring her on quarter time, then part-time. It doesn't have to be that you have a huge staff to do any of what is being done. The other videos were done with telephones and, our Zoom cameras. So I invite you to stay connected, to keep your message about your mission. Allow people to tell you their story of how they're doing and what it might be that you've done or someone in your community has done to have them feel just a little bit happier, maybe a little bit more loved or safe, or whatever the emotion is, and name that as you are having them tell their story. All right, so the last thing that I want to do is just do a little tiny bit of wrap up and send you off on your way. Some of you probably have had dinner and some of you have not. Our job really is to invite the money to stop by for a visit. It doesn't stay forever. We invite it to make an impact while it's with us. And then our job is to tell folks what that impact is through the clear money story that you share. So you want to have some explanation of how my gift helps one person. What's the progress to the next milestone? I had someone send me a message just a couple of days ago, and she said, Lori, what do I do if we have already met our goal for our campaign that we started a few days ago? And I said, well, first of all, you didn't tell them your big money story. Obviously, you told them just a little tiny bit of your money story, but she was using a money story. I said, just go back to remind them of what the to fully fund our mission number is, and let them know the next milestone is blank. And she started that today. So we'll see how they do in exceeding their internal goal that they'd set. Use the language about what it takes versus what we need. Be inspiring, specific, and relationship building in our communication. That's all. Just simple, right?